So, can you guys hear me? Yeah, gee, thanks. Anyway, going to close this because it keeps replaying the same shit already. Oh my god. Fucking postception here. Okay, well, we have Sombra and Tabris here. That will have to be enough of an audience. I really wish I could see who exactly is... Huh. Okay, so that's how I check the participants here. Wish I could do that without closing everything else out, but whatever. Wait until we've got a few more people here. He may well be, but I guess he's not logged into YouTube or something because he's not showing up in the chat participants list. Which, interestingly enough, just disappeared. That's weird. Okay, Meth, you are now famous. Oh, there we go, everything just fucking plonked back into existence. So I'm gonna wait until we've got about like 10 people or so at least, and then I'll start doing the actual streaming stuff. Also going to pause this on my end so you don't see it repeating over and over. Just dump this in a bunch of chats. Chats I want to click but would get banned for clicking. Well, not necessarily banned, but removed from certain areas of the mod. Don't ask about Divine, please. While I'm waiting for people, I might as well get everything I need together here. Shit. Did I actually... I don't think I did. That is a problem. That is definitely a problem. Maybe I did. Okay, yeah, I guess I just removed it from the taskbar for some reason, which is not something I should have done, but no problem. The point is, we have a working copy of 3ds Max 2008, and that is important. Seriously. Figures. That would figure. Well, for some reason, the model is completely off-center, meaning that even though there is a hitboxed version already available, I'm going to have to re-hitbox it. But, in case you haven't figured it out yet, today we are going to be streaming the final export of the Diamos CR Dreadnought, and while there is a working CMP of this model, there are a number of issues with it. It was exported through Milkshape. We do not accept models exported via Milkshape anymore, the reason being that Milkshape creates a number of issues with the geometry and the model integrity, or the data integrity of the model. And in addition, there are some problems with the geometry that are going to need to be fixed here. Like, there's some stuff going on here that frankly does not make sense. So, the first order of business is importing all of the textures and getting that shit all sorted. These are not intuitive names at all. This is why I strongly dislike working with other people's models. Now it's going to be a big fucking guessing game of what goes where, but whatever, we can work with that. It's not using too many different maps, and they're pretty distinct as far as I can tell. So, let's just go ahead and import all of our texture maps here. I'm not a huge fan of the Creator Republic texture palette. I happen to think it's a little bland, but it's what we have to work with, so we will have to make do. Interestingly enough, if you look at the bitmap name here, one of these, this one here, is the file name is equip albatross. And if there's anyone around who remembers, you know, 0.85, 0.84, the IMG battlecruiser, the Argus, was originally called the Albatross. It had the internal nickname Albatross, and that actually went on to become the name for the power core of all battle cruisers, is that it's the Albatross power core. There's lots of old, unintuitive shit like that in Discovery, and it makes modding it kind of a bitch sometimes. Also, I should probably pop this back up so I can see what you guys are saying. Just trying to arrange my workspace here. I guess I can work like this. Okay, this is going to be more frustrating than I had hoped, but... One, two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, there we go. That's all of our textures. So, the MTL file was fucking useless. And this model is not... Oh, Jesus. Okay. Well, change of plans. Unless the plugin I have decides to work. Uh... Don't actually know how to bring it up without restarting Max, so I guess that's what we'll do. We'll just save this real fast. Save this as dymos.max. Reboot the program. Sombra always leaves Cheetos behind. Do not listen to him, her, it, whatever the fuck Sombra is. Why is Max not booting up again? Okay, so we have our detach by ID thing here. Hopefully that will do what I want it to do. Did that work? Yes, excellent, it did. Okay, so this little nifty plugin I have here, this detach by ID plugin, basically, most games do not work this way because it's fucking stupid. But models in Freelancer are split into different groups depending on what texture they use. So as you can see here, I now have a group for the window model, which is ridiculous, which I can now move around. I can move the main hull around, etc. And this is necessary because, I mean, unless we export the model like this, basically Freelancer will throw a giant fit and crash. So what this does, this plugin, is it detaches the model into various pieces based on the material ID that they have. So that just saved us and Cameron quite a lot of time. There is something not quite right going on with whatever the hell these are. Looks like inverted normals to me. So we're going to go ahead and fix that. Yep, inverted normals. This is a big part of why I don't like working with other people's submissions, and if there is a model not in the game that you wish was in the game, chances are it's probably because it has broken stuff going on with it like this. And it's quite a lot of time and effort and busy work that goes into fixing somebody else's mesh like this. I don't even know what's going on here anymore. Apparently this is using a different texture on the other side of the tube thing. Whatever the hell they are. I've got to find a way to set this up so we can... yes, Allie, I am very sure that I know that you're there. But thank you. I really, 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 really hate dealing with inverted normals. What in the hell? There we go. That stream would take at least a week, Skorak. I don't actually know how you like your name pronounced. I've heard it pronounced both ways. To my American ears, Skorak sounds better. But my American ears also like the sound of gunfire and explosions, so, you know. I do not understand why these... Let's... Yeah, that works as a quick way of saying, okay. So most of these actually are in the same group. It looks like it's just one or two polygons on each tube that aren't doing what we want them to do. They're not conforming to society. They quite literally do not have the right skin. I feel horrible now. Never mind the fact that they're showing up black because their normals are inverted. Just let's not pay attention to any of that. This is the Deimos, the Criterion Dreadnought, which they have been waiting for quite a while. And I kept telling Shooter, when he was raging at me about the Deimos not being in-game, I kept repeatedly shouting Thursday at him in full caps. Apparently he did not get the message. Scrack. Are we releasing the Scracken now? Oh, God, forgive me. No, it doesn't. Although, occasionally, it does involve other people swearing, which is rather interesting. I'm sure you remember, Skarak, oh God, how did it go? Hitler is dead, you don't need to finish his work, or something like that? We see a lot of interesting things cross the desk. Also, if anyone wants me to throw some music on, just let me know, because I can arrange that. I won't be taking requests, because frankly, I don't trust YouTube not to shut me the hell down. But, I will throw on music at my discretion. Whew, boy. I promise it isn't all this boring. Like, I was actually going to explain things that are interesting, but... Oh, fine. No, I'm not. Yeah, no. That's... no. I don't feel like getting yelled at by the copyright people, thanks. Or actually, probably just wouldn't play, because YouTube is creepy and auto-detects that stuff. And now I need to... Wesker's already banned, and that's not exactly a threat as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I would really like to know why these are not in the correct model group. In fact, let's find out what model group they are a part of. That's interesting. Interesting is definitely a word that can be used here. Um... Uh... Okay, so they are in the right model group, I just can't select them. Unlucky soul, he tends to make mistakes like these. So for anyone wondering why their ship hasn't made it into the game, it's usually something like this. Actually, if I recall, he uses a version of Maya, which is from, like, 2006 or something. Yes, yes, I know you're going to go ahead and ban Wesker. That's very frightening. I am very scared right now. I do not know what I will do without Wesker in my life. Yeah, I believe he uses Maya 8, which is, not a good idea in 2018. But, he does not seem interested in learning to use anything else. Okay, so I think that's all the inverted normals we've dealt with. I did not know Laz is a midget. That is very good to know. Or, I should say, good to know. Thanks. Bracket, Trent, bracket. Or bracket, backslash, Trent, bracket, rather. So, now that we have our geometry sort of fixed up, there's still quite a lot of problems here, but we'll get to them. We're going to go ahead and apply our textures. If I recall, the nameplate went here. Yes. Cue the chair meme that Cameron made. Chair? Chair! It's pretty awful. If anyone here is interested in learning to model, please, please, please never ever use chair.dds on anything. This texture is used on the chair of the pilot model for Freelancer. Unlucky Soul seems to think it belongs on giant warships. It does not. It abso-fucking-lutely does not, ever. That is the last place that the stretch chair texture should ever be appearing. Okay, we're getting down to the last few textures here. Of course, one or two of them is going to be a pain in trying to figure out where they go. We have these applied. We have, I think it's just the metal and the hangar door texture. Well, presumably the hangar door goes on the, what I assume is the hangar. Which I guess means this is just this horrible blend texture that I used to use quite a bit when I was not so good at modeling and texturing over a lot of the mesh. And you'll see this on some of the older HF models. I used it quite heavily with a lot of old models I made. It's not a good idea to use textures without any real detail like this. It's basically a stand-in for when you don't know how to map a texture to an area correctly. You just kind of dump this here, and it's not a good habit to get into, but I digress. That's interesting. We're still missing, hmm. I am legitimately confused right now. We have how many model groups? We have more model groups than we have textures. That is not what I was hoping for. The design itself isn't necessarily bad, it's just poorly executed in a lot of places. There are a lot of issues with the geometry, there's a lot of funky texture stuff going on. It's the execution which is bad, not the idea. I'm sure if you linked it in the thread, Cameron, everybody would be glad to see it. It's a great meme. Meanwhile, I would like to know what goes on these model groups that do not have textures. This one we can probably find out pretty easily. I'm guessing it's this. Maybe not. That doesn't quite look right to me. That looks good, but I'm not sure if that's what's supposed to be there. Frankly, I'm not going to know without actually seeing the model. It does have a very, very nice frontal profile. I will give it that. It looks fucking mean from the front. I recall there being some issues with the model around this area, some holes. And it looks like they were... It looks as though they were patched. Just not in a very, well executed manner, but models can always be upgraded later. If there aren't actually any holes in it, I'm probably not going to fix the funky stuff over here. I do not think that the Diamos would appreciate pictures of her holes just being posted all over the internet. But, you know. Um... Hmm. Actually, I may have a Deimos. Yep. Oh, there we go. Cameron says hi to the stream, and this is a good opportunity because people ask me a lot. Why is Cameron's name 6YU7777 blah 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 4444 on my Skype? And the reason for that is my cat, who passed away a few months afterwards, actually climbed on top of my keyboard and renamed him. So I just kind of left his name that way. That is the story behind that. Yes, Tabris, the Coalition BC was made by the same person and had a number of the same problems, but the reason it wasn't included last time was because I needed to whip up an INI entry for it, and I never got around to doing that because I'm a lazy fuck. There's really no reason for it not being included other than Justin is a lazy fuck in this case. That's interesting. Okay, so yes, we're just going to attach this part of the model because it's using the same texture. Don't know how we ended up with duplicate model groups there, but it is okay. And this, as I thought, is just metal, I think. Let's see if I can remember how to... Yes, there we go. Alright, so yes, this is just the metal texture. Oops. Now, if I recall, we had 11 textures and 14 model groups. I just got rid of 2, but there will be 1 left. So let's try to figure out exactly what is going on there. I can make beard rubbing noises if you'd like to hear them, Sombra. I do beard rubbing noises as per request. I don't actually know a good way to bring up the list of model parts. Oh, no, there we go. I was gonna say I don't know how to do this in Max 2008, but I just did it. Problem is selecting one of them just... Oh, well there we go. There's our dummy group that doesn't actually exist. So... yeah, 0 polygons selected. That makes no sense. Delete. That should leave us with 11 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that's not... Let me just double check. 6. Yeah. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we need to find which group is not doing anything here. That one is fine. This is much more streamlined in newer versions of Max, but we're using Max 2008 because it is the version that Yuri's CMP exporter is compatible with. Why he chose to use that, I will frankly never understand, instead of a different version. Newer version, rather. There we go. Wait, no, this is... No, that's our hangar door. That is still... That's... Of course it would be the one on the very bottom. Yep, here we go. And this is actually... It actually has polygons from somewhere. Believe these are all internal faces which are untextured. But if that's not the case and I delete them, then we may end up with some holes in the model, so I've got to kind of check it a little bit thoroughly here. Yep, right here. If I had deleted this, we would end up with a nice big gaping hole in the model right here. These are faces that Unlucky Soul forgot to texture, so I need to texture them and attach them to the rest of the mesh. I'm really, really not when it comes to no, not in any scenario. Holes should not be gaping. They should be filled, however. Actually, so I don't forget, we'll go ahead and attach this to the... First we have to detach it because we don't want to attach the whole model group. So we're going to detach this. Where's my detach button? There we go. Select the rest of the model that's using chair. That was a tone of disapproval there. Okay, so all the chairs in the same model. Chair. I'm actually having some trouble zooming in. So we're going to go ahead and center the mesh. I believe it was only off on the z-axis, but... How quaint, it thinks it's already on the z-axis correctly. Meaning we need to center our pivot point to the object and then we move it. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, well, this is a problem, but it can be fixed. So we will just group all of these. And we will move them grouped, and then we will break the group. Mac group. So we have macked a grup. Now we are going to brack a grup. The grup has been bracked. So the model is all centered now. That's what we wanted to do. The textures have been applied. We just need to clean up that one remaining group, which is funky. I'm pretty sure these are all internal, but we're going to double check anyway. Yes, those are all inside of the model, so we're just going to go ahead and delete that. That should have deleted the entire group. No, it did not. I don't actually know how the hell to... That should delete the group. Yes, there we go. Okay, so now we have our model broken down into these OBJ polysurface, oh, whatever, or 10, 11, 12, blah, blah, blah. That's not what we want to do. We want these to have unique names. No, I do not. I use Max 2018 for modeling, and then through a very convoluted process, I import them into Max 2008. You can use just about any modeling software for Discovery as long as it exports a format which can be easily imported into 3ds Max, and as long as it isn't terrible, which pretty much leaves you with Maya, Blender, and 3ds Max itself. I prefer Max because it is the industry standard. It is like comparing Photoshop to GIMP, really. It is not freeware. in my case, my copy of Max 2008 was... Oh, oh god, this chair is comfy. Okay, anyway. My copy of Max 2008 was obtained through my student email. If you are currently going to school and you have an EDU email address, then you can just download Max and use it. It is as simple as that. You do not need to be going to school for any art-specific stuff. I was not. All you do is you give them your email, and I believe it's a 3-year license for Max. If you are not in school, well, you better hope you have about $5,000 laying around, or be okay with your software falling off the back of a truck. Anyway, Sombra. As you'll recall, I was telling you that you're, actually, no, this was Skurak. You and Skurak, I think. I was telling one of you that the reason that models, simply copied from a CMP and renamed were having texture issues is because of the, internal nicknames. This is what I was talking about. So, say we have the Diamos that goes in-game like this, with these OBJ polysurfaces. That's not what's going to happen. We're going to give all of these unique names so we don't have any texture conflicts, but just for the sake of demonstration, let's say they all had these internal names. What would happen if you renamed the CMP is that all these names inside of it would stay the same. But if you had done that and applied different textures to the model that you copied, what would end up happening is it would end up switching textures at random if there were two in the same system. This happened with quite a few models when Discovery 4.86 was first released. The new LABC model was a major culprit there. It was consistently, if anyone remembers the old Firefly, it kept picking up textures from that, and it looked extremely fucking silly. So, there was also a case of that happening with a Star Sphere once, or Skybox, I should say, in Cayman, with the new Renzu VHFs that Jinx did. It was pretty depressing, to be honest, but anyway. If the MERM is having a texture issue like that, I would really, really like to see a proper bug report on it just to confirm, but that would not surprise me if it did. So here we have our model. It's not perfect. There's a lot of shit that could be fixed with it. But it's good enough for the moment. So what we're going to do now is we're going to apply smooth groups. Smooth groups are a huge part of why I do not accept models made in Milkshape, because Milkshape cannot export models with smooth groups properly. In fact, what Milkshape will do is it will generate smoothing groups based on the mapping of the model, actually. So to demonstrate that, I have to actually show you what smooth groups do. The easiest way to set smooth groups is by turning off the textures, because it's much easier to see what's going on with the mesh when that is done. So we're just going to disable our textures in the viewport so we can work with the raw geometry of the model for a little bit. Actually, I'm going to turn one of them back on because I want to show you. Okay, this is a good example. So, what smooth groups do is they emulate a smooth surface through hardware shading. which essentially looks like this. Let me find a relatively smooth surface that isn't quite smooth. Yeah, that's a very good example. All right. So as you can see here, this row of faces, it has these facets here, is what you would call them, and it doesn't look very smooth at all. It's clearly 3 polygons. But when a smooth group is applied, suddenly, boom, the fact that there are polygons there is not really discernible at all. You can clearly see them on this side, but they're no longer visible on this side. It looks like a smooth surface. And smoothing groups are an incredibly huge part of making a model look not shit. So we're just going to undo that real fast. And turn our attention to this up here. This part of the model is using the same texture, mapped in the same way. There we go. Okay, so the same texture is wrapped around here, which is fine. I may well have done that myself, depending on what I wanted to do with the model. However, see how this is a very hard surface here? It's clearly a very hard angle. It's not something that you would want to have a smoothing group applied to. But, since it's using the same texture mapped over the same coordinates, what would end up happening is, if it were exported with Milkshape, you would get this. And as you can see, that creates some very weird shading issues. It doesn't look real at all. It looks, well, it looks frankly like something fake and bad that came out of a video game. And we try to avoid that. And if this model were to be exported with Milkshape, that is what would happen. That is what you would see right there. It's not pretty looking at all. It's unprofessional. It's just bad. It's not something you'll ever see on any vanilla models, but unfortunately it's quite common on a number of Discovery models, particularly a lot of Jinx's models, some of the Zoner ones. So, we do not want that to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to properly apply smooth groups to this mesh. Now, the neat thing about smoothing groups is that they can be done on large portions of the model, as long as the textures, or as long as the polygons using the textures do not touch. For example, I want these surfaces to be smoothed here, and I can just smooth them into the same group. But if they had a polygon connecting them on a hard surface, I wouldn't want to include that, because that would have the same result as what you saw up here. Obviously, that doesn't look good, and it is not what we want. So we're just going to grab all of these large, relatively smooth surfaces here that are not connected to each other, and we're just going to smooth them. Yes, the Arbiter was my work, and the Orion hangars were most definitely intentional. The Benziton was less intentional, but it did turn out having quite a few similarities to the Uringis. The idea behind the Benziton was basically making something that looked like it came straight out of a fucking anime. And while I was working on it, I realized that quite a few free space ships, at least the fighters, do look like they were inspired by anime, which is kind of interesting. It's not really evident at a glance because of the really grim, dark texture style that they used, but it is in fact the case. Now, we don't want these connected. Remember how I said we could use the same smooth group for parts of the model that weren't connected? Well, even if it's just one vertex like this, it's not a good idea to smooth them like this because it will read that as being connected and it will cause very, very, very strange shading issues. So we're not going to do that part of the mesh together. Same deal with this up here. When you said you there, Sombra, did you mean me specifically, or did you mean you as in whoever is making them? Because the statement was a little bit unclear. Um, I actually haven't made that very many snubs for Discovery. I did significantly more for Neoterra. The ones I've done for Discovery are pretty varied. The Prosecutor is obviously a mashup between the Guardian and the Saber, but unless you mean in the sense that they're inspired by existing models, like the Stellian is obviously rather uh, reminiscent of the Agama. Not exactly, because I moved the wings forward instead of keeping them in the back, but really, the fact is that models in Freelancer follow an existing pattern. So if I'm going to be working on a ship line, I want the stuff to look like it belongs in that ship line, and that essentially guts a lot of the originality. Uh, you've got a lot more room when you're making a new ship line than when you're working with something that already exists and you're stuck with the confines of that. That can be smoothed out. Nah, I'm not going to smooth that front part. I could, but I'm not going to. It's honestly kind of hard to tell sometimes which surfaces should be smoothed, which should not. Obviously, we've got these cylinders here, but these cylinders, on this sort of a scale, when you consider how big this thing is going to be, if you smooth them, chances are it's just going to end up looking kind of weird. If they were on a smaller model, or if they were using more polygons, I would definitely consider smoothing it out. But like this, I don't think it's probably a good idea. The important part is that you want all the big flowing parts of the hull, like I've got under here, that are clearly not meant to be be faceted, smoothed out. So we'll just go ahead and lump these in smooth group 1. So that's the last time I'm going to use smooth group 1. So I think that's all of the pieces we're going to smooth group in this model group. So let's go ahead and move on to the next part of the model and smooth that out. Meth is actually a pretty cool guy, and frankly, I think he's one of the least weird people on Discovery. You, on the other hand. You are definitely not normal. Sorry, Tabby. You're about as normal as I am, which is not very. Yep, well, I'm not a very talkative person, which is why I did not do these for a long fucking time. I don't talk, it's the way I am, but a lot of people want to see what goes into this stuff, so I'm just pretty much getting ready for you to all get bored and leave. Yeah, no, that's not gonna fucking happen. Also, Locklear is in prison. I don't think he's going to be giving or receiving any blowjobs anytime soon. Yes, but Locklear is literally in prison. Yeah, fuck that. I'm gonna leave those unsmooth. am going to smooth these little pipes over here. I believe there are a number of these on the top as well. Of course it's going to be a bitch selecting them. There we go, good. These I can just go ahead and auto smooth. There we go. Oh god, funny dev stories. There was the time Lunatic didn't have Git access and pushed the info cards document he'd been working on client side, which ended up updating a bunch of info cards and reverting a bunch of other ones, and it was a fucking nightmare, but that's not really funny, that's just painful. Yes, painful and tragic. Much like my existence. So, I think that's pretty much the best we can smooth this for the moment. Like I said, it's not a very good mesh, technically speaking. There's a lot that could be fixed with it, but people have been waiting quite a long time for it, and it's not in too horrible a state to put in the game right now as is. So, we're going to export it. Gonna go ahead and turn all of our textures back on. Totally not relevant at all here. Anybody who hates the CR will probably start raging at me right now. So what we need to do now is we need to go into our group editor. We're going to give these all unique names. these did not get renamed. That's interesting. Hmm. One, two, 3, 6, 9. Yeah. Alright, 11. It's not always the most intuitive order these are in, but it doesn't matter. So what we do now is we take all of these and we group them. And when you're grouping texture groups, you always want to group them as LOD 0. Now, if we were working with animated parts, we'd be working with more than one LOD 0, more than one root group. Well, not more than one root group, but more than one LOD 0 anyway. But we're not. We don't have multiple LODs, we don't have any animated parts here. It's a pretty straightforward model. So, what we do next is we simply group that under root capitalized. And that's pretty much it. Except for the textures. The textures do need to have unique names. So, let's pop open the existing mat file and do what we can with that. So, the mat file is the texture archive that is used by freelancer ships. There are a number of mat files. Technically, it could all be one big mat, but imagine that would create problems, and we're not really interested in trying. So, these names you see here are what these need to be named. Now, I can't actually remember off the top of my head if we keep the TGA extension or not. But we'll find out pretty quickly. think these are all correctly named as is. So I'm just going to copy it from the bitmap name you see down here. Trying to think of another model that uses that hangar door texture so I can just reference another mat. Whatever, I'll come back to it later. Ah, okay. If I did this right. Guess I can make the copyrighted music less loud. Can also switch it. Honestly, it's been so long since I listened to the BSG soundtrack, I can't remember which ones are actually good. Whatever. Yeah, numbers. Why the hell not? I'm trying to remember which one of these is numbers. Got it on the very first fucking try. I can hardly believe that. At least I think this is numbers. I can't remember. Anyway. What the fuck am I doing here? Right. There we go, that's what I want. Okay, well that didn't go quite as planned. Oh, for some reason there's not... Some of these have 2 S's, some of them have 1. That's odd, though. Because some of these missing are correctly named, like the chair. Maybe the TGA extension is necessary. I can never remember. Quick way to find out. Nope. Okay, so we do not want the TGA extension. Oh, I think, yep, that's why. I always forget there's 2 layers of naming in Max. Not Ablatros, for fuck's sake. That's interesting. What the hell did I do with my folder? Whatever. No, it's the other. That's what I thought. Stand by. Older versions of Macs are a bit of a bitch to navigate, so this is gonna take a minute. There we go. This is what I wanted. No, it's not entirely what I wanted. Fuck. Well, we'll just pop it open and see how much of it was fixed. Okay, so we're just missing the logo and the hanger. That's good. I can work with that. So all we need to do now is import those two textures into the existing map file, which is not a whole lot of work. So we're going to create a new node in the mat. It's going to be logo CR and hanger CR. We'll add the flags for them later. We're going to add the nodes here. Again, logo CR and hanger CR. And we're going to add subnodes to these called MIPS. Whenever you're working with DDS files, you want them to be MIPS. If you're working with TGAs, it's MIPS 0. And the reason for that is the MIP maps in DDS files are self-contained. And what MIP maps are different resolutions of the texture that are drawn at different ranges. So those are self-contained within a DDS, which is why you call the node MIPS for DDS file. For TGAs, you have to actually add each texture image separately. Like you would need to add, if you wanted 6 MIP maps, you would need to add 6 different sizes of the texture, MIPS 0 through 5. So that's how that works. So we're going to import the texture, and I don't have it in DDS here, I don't think, but in the map file that Unlucky Soul sent, they should exist, although fuck. There we go. Of course it's going to be a pain in the ass, why wouldn't it be? Dude, what the fuck? I don't even know what I'm looking at here. What is a Lambert 12 SG? Whatever. This is why I do not accept models from this person anymore. Oh, forgot to add the TGA extension down here. Oh, whoops, that's not what I meant to do either. DT name, and then edit, and we want the string to read logo cr.tga. Edit string hanger cr.tga. The type should just be, yeah, DCDT. And that stands for diffuse color, diffuse texture. Because this isn't emitting any glows, it's not transparent, it's just a standard diffuse texture. So DC and DT are the only flags we want to use. Now, if I did nothing wrong, it should work flawlessly. Bam. There we go, people. So, this is the Diamos with all of its textures. Meaning, and I might catch some shit for this, but you're going to get to see the discovery dev git for just a moment here. And I am going to commit the new files. What the fuck do you mean there's nothing to commit? That's interesting. Oh, there we go. Now it decides to show up. So we're going to stage all of the new files here. One is edited, which is the Colonial Shipline material file. And we have the coldred.cmp. And that, folks, is the Diamos CR Dreadnought committed to Git, which you should expect to see in the next mod version. And I know I suck at streaming. I am very bad with commentary, but I hope that this helped shed some light on a little bit of the work that goes into the boring background shit that makes Disco. Ugh. Now I've got about a billion things to do, so I'm going to go do them, and I hope you guys have a great night. See you around.